A choir of farmers just won Britain's Got Talent. Same week, the beer brand backing them was named the fastest-growing private company in the entire southwest of England. Same name, same farm, same man behind both. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee how deliberately it was built. Here's the number that should stop you. 44.9 million. That's what Hawkstone did in sales in the year to March 2026. 3 years ago, before most of the country had ever tasted it, that number was £7.8 million. It didn't grow. It grew 128% a year, every year, for 3 years straight. For context, most breweries would sign a contract in blood for 20% growth in a good year. Hawkstone did that number 6 times over, 3 years running. So here's the real question. Not is Hawkstone big now? Everyone already knows that. The real question is how a lager nobody outside Gloucestershire had heard of in 2020 ended up outrunning every other drinks brand in Britain by 2026. That answer starts somewhere nobody's cameras were pointed. Before Jeremy Clarkson ever touched a pint of it, this beer had a completely different life. The company was called Cotswold Brewing Company, founded back in 2005, quietly making premium German-style lagers in Bourton-on-the-Water. No farm shop fame, no TV cameras, just a small team getting the recipe right year after year, while every brewery around them chased the craft ale trend instead. That patience is what Clarkson actually bought into, not a marketing opportunity, a brewery that already knew how to make a lager worth drinking. In 2021, with government farm subsidies drying up and diddly squat farm needing new income, Clarkson used his own spring barley to make a beer. He wanted to call it Lager McLagerface. His ad agency said no. They named it Hawkstone instead, after a Neolithic standing stone on the edge of his land. The first batch failed a blind taste test against a local rival. He had it rebrewed. That's the part people forget. This wasn't an instant hit riding on a famous face. It had to actually be good before anyone let it near a supermarket shelf. And that's the part every small business owner watching this already knows in their bones. Fame gets you one sale. Only the product gets you the second one. Waitrose became the first major supermarket to stock it. Sainsbury's followed. Within a few years, Hawkstone was in more than 2,000 retail outlets and 4,000 pubs, exporting to 10 countries across Europe. That's not a farm shop success story anymore. That's distribution. Most craft breweries spend a decade chasing and never catch. Here's where it gets interesting, because growth like that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone restructured the entire business to handle it. Advertising executive Johnny Hornby came in alongside Clarkson as a partner. Owen Jenkins was brought on as managing director, a man who'd spent his career at C&C Group, the company behind Magners and Tennent. You don't hire someone out of a major drinks conglomerate unless you're planning to compete at that scale, not stay a farm shop novelty forever. And running the board through all of it, before Clarkson, during the takeover, and after, is Hugh Van Cutsem, a friend of the family close to Princes William and Harry. The kind of continuity that keeps a fast-growing business from falling apart under its own momentum. Now, most companies growing this fast quietly sell pieces of themselves to outside investors just to keep up. Hawkstone didn't. They funded the expansion through an ordinary secured lending facility with Barclays, the same bank that backed the business years before Clarkson was ever involved. No conglomerate buying in. No slice of the company handed to a private equity fund. Just a business paying its own way, the boring, old-fashioned way that actually protects the people who built it. That restraint is easy to miss, and it's arguably the most important decision in the entire story. Then came the part nobody could have scripted. Hawkstone released an ad using language raw enough that the Advertising Standards Authority banned it. In any other industry, a regulator banning your campaign is a crisis meeting and an apology. Here, it became one of the most talked about pieces of marketing the brand ever produced. The ban did more for brand awareness than the ad itself ever could have. You couldn't buy that kind of publicity if you tried. The regulator built the campaign for free. And then, just days before that Sunday Times ranking landed, the Hawkstone Farmers Choir, set up by Clarkson to support farmers' mental health, won Britain's Got Talent. First choir in the show's history to take the title. Same brand name, same farming community, completely different stage, same underlying idea. Back British farmers publicly, loudly, and repeatedly, and let the business follow. That's the actual engine here, not a famous face on a can. A brand that keeps finding new ways to put British farming in front of people who'd never normally think about where their pint came from, and profit every single time it does. Every extra pint sold now pulls in barley from farms beyond Clarkson's own land, spreading real income across British growers who've never been anywhere near a television camera. A hobby project that started on 1,000 acres in Oxfordshire is now quietly propping up parts of an entire industry. So pull it all together. A patient, unglamorous brewery that spent 15 years learning to make a good lager before fame ever found it. A rebrand built on barley that almost didn't survive its first taste test. Leadership pulled from the biggest names in British drinks. Growth funded the boring way through a bank, not a private equity handshake. A banned ad that became free advertising. A choir that won national television the same week the balance sheet made headlines. None of that is luck stacked on luck. That's what happens when every decision, big or small, points the same direction for 5 straight years. The accounts for this most recent $44.9 million year haven't even been filed with Companies House yet. When they are, that number becomes official record instead of press coverage. Given the pattern, don't expect it to be the last time this brand tops that list. So here's what I actually want to know from you. Out of everything Clarksons built off one farm, the beer, the pub, now a choir that just won national television, which one do you think is the smartest business he's ever backed? Tell me in the comments, and tell me which one you want broken down next.